All right, so I welcome you all once again to today's special case study models section. In today's class, we are going to look out for still the external analysis, how to analyze the external environment of an entity. Don't forget that I always make a comment that there's no entity or organization that operates in isolation. You still have an external environment. Likewise, the internal environment as well. It's rather unfortunate that the external environment, you cannot control that. You can only have control over the internal factors. So that is why a critical assessment or scanning must be done on the external environment so that you can know their impact, whether they pose a challenge or they serve as what? An opportunity for the entity. That is it. Now, to do that, we started with the international business environment. So our last meeting, we used Michael Eugene Porter's model, diamond model, to assess how organization can move international, how nations become more competitive, why a particular nation is more conversant with one or two products. So we saw that. So we are done with what we call the international market or business. Now let's go to the general. So if I should make it clear for you, with the external environment, external or environmental analysis, there are three sections. And we've done one already. We have the international environment, international business environment, in which we use Porter's diamond. Although there are more, we are concentrating on the approved exams models. Today, we'll be looking at for general environments or macro environments. Then finally, we look out for industry or competitive advantage or competitive analysis. So these are the three. We done this. So today, let's join forces together and now discuss what is meant by general or macro environment, how to analyze. The model we are going to use is called PESTEL. And with the industry, the model is Michael Porter's 5 forces, and the rest, there are more. So we'll look at all of them. Today, I intend to run a bit fast, and then so that we can be able to finish all the external environment. If you're able to finish the external environment, wow, then we can now zoom into what? The internal environment. That is that. So to start with, we are going to talk about general or macro environment. When you say general or macro environment, certain environmental factors affect all the industries operating under a particular economy or jurisdiction or region or continent. So take notice of the general market. So general or macro analysis. So general or macro environment. We are arguing that there are factors that affect all industry within a particular economy. So that is that. Now, there are so many models. Pay particular attention to the models we selected for you. These are the key ones we use to assess the external environment. Take notice. So if you are assessing the external environment, we have the key models you have to use. Secondly, the aim of the external analysis is to know the threat and opportunities facing the entity. Good. And then we move on with the game. Now, PESTEL model is used to identify significant factors in the macro environment of an entity. So here, it means that we want to assess factors that affect the macro environment. So factors that affect macro environment of the entity. And when you talk about macro environment, it's a general. So let me give a specific example. There are certain environmental factors that affect all companies, all industries in Ghana. There's no exemption. No exemption. Every industry, certain factors affect you so long as you are in a country. Again, certain factors affect the entire Africa continent. Again, certain factors affect the European countries. Those that come under the Commonwealth or European Union. So the same thing we are arguing about the Ghana state. So when you take a particular economy, all industries or all companies are being impacted by certain macroeconomic factors. So there are certain factors. There's no company that is exempted from that factors. So what are they? So you must know that we have a factor that irrespective of the nature of the business, it will affect you. You saw how COVID-19 makes things become very difficult. Irrespective of the industry you are coming from, you have every industry had their fair share of the COVID-19 challenges. So it doesn't matter, you have your fair share of it. And then move on with the game. Just a second, friends online. So here we must know certain factors that irrespective of the entity, once you fall under that economy, it will go against you. Yes, there's no entity that is exempted from the impact is what? In the interest rate or increase in fuel. So these are the things that we are going to discuss here, that there are certain factors, no matter the kind of activities you engage in, it will still have either negative or positive impact on your entity. So here, as and when we are learning, please understand when it will be a good news for the entity and when it will be a bad news. The COVID-19 that created a lot of problem in town, it was some of the entities breakthrough. Most of the online classes had their peak season. Zoom video communication had their largest amount of revenue during the COVID-19 season. Yes. So if you are analyzing it, don't just say that COVID-19 is the worst thing ever. No, please. To certain businesses, it affected them negatively. To other businesses, they had a good news. And they're still praying that there should be a pandemic again, in addition, so that they can have their what? Their second or third phase of what? Bumper harvest. That is it. So to do this, we have to now go into PESTEL. It's a model that we use to analyze the environment. Now, the nature of PESTEL is that we are going to analyze certain factors that affect all industry under a particular economy. Take notice, all industries under what? A particular economy. So that is all. So PESTEL this is it. So it's an acronym. P stands for the political factors. Please, in exams, you just writing political factors for us will not agree. You have to go deeper and tell us the impact, linking it, apply the political factors for the case or for the scenario for the organization in question. Political factors, economic environment, exchange rates and interest rates, then socio-cultural environment, socio-cultural environment, the lifestyle of people, lifestyle, socio and cultural environment. The T is for technology. That's the technological environment, no matter what. Even in fact, we have reached a section where AI will very soon enter everywhere. Even in the farming yard, there will be AI that we use to detect bad and good crops. So take notice of technology. It has come to stay. So if you don't analyze the impacts of technological environment or effects on your business, please. So some of the industries or some of the entity, it affects them strong, like banking industry, telecommunication industry, and then the rest. The E stands for ecological or environment. Ecology. Ecological environment. And then the last L stands for legal. The L stands for legal. So we have to take our time and pick each of the factor, each of the branch, and now go into it. Please don't forget, we are only assessing which of these factors serve as a threat for the entity, which of these factors serve as opportunity for the entity. Don't forget, COVID was a good news to someone, equally a bad news to other person. Yes. There was one businessman, he was complaining bitterly that business is not going on well. And we asked him, why is business not going on well? He told us that he sell gaskets or coffin, aka he sell coffin. The challenge is that now people are not dying. So his business is not going on. That is it. So basically, take notice. So the analysis, we should not do what you call one-way analysis, please. No. It depends on the company in question. So in exams, the case study, if that company analyze the fate of that company, and then we move on. So PESTEL, we are going to analyze the political factors that affect the entity. Political factors. What are the political factors? When you say political factors, what are we talking about? And then we move on with the game. Previously, it was just slept. It was just slept. So this is how slept. Yes. So it means we are just adding one E to it. So take notice of that when this was developed. And other people also, in fact, previously, we even have the pets. It end at the pest. So you can say pest. So many models. So the pestle can be arranged as what? Slept. Okay, so when answering question, it does not necessary you must follow order, please. It was just an acronym so that we can remember. You can start with economic factors, it doesn't matter. You can even start with legal factors, it doesn't matter. In order to be able to remember, that is why you say PESTEL analysis. So the order is to just help you to remember in the exam. So anywhere you want to learn, acronym, mnemonic. So the order is not order important. Now let's start. Although I will start in order, but it's not something that is a requirement. Now let's go. I'm starting with political factors. When you say political factors, we are saying that how does government actions affect the entities? Stable political system in a country. So here we are talking about stable political system. In a country can affect the entity. So you see, if you're operating in a country where, in fact, there's no problem, a country where there's no problem, after one election, several years, there's no political unrest or civil issues. So let me give a typical example. Imagine the last election, there's misunderstanding between the two giant political parties in a given country. Imagine what will happen. So there will be chaos. Business will not have peace of mind to be able to what? Go in for their daily activities. So we are saying that if there's a political stability, it promotes peace business. It smooths up the business operations. Now, if there's a coup d'etat, changes in government frequently. Almost every 4 years, we are changing government. Don't forget that any government that comes, they introduce something new. It may or not affect us. So it may or not affect the operations. So the question is, this entity, anytime there's what? Change in government, what do you do? If it is a threat to your business, what will be your response towards that threat? If it is a good news because your political party is in power, in that case, you're going to win a lot of government contracts. All of them are going to be yours. No, that one, he said that is what? An opportunity. So have you seen the analysis? Yes. So that is that. Now here, threat of government action. This is very important. Russia has done some threats. So these are the factors you must analyze. Threats of government action to nationalize. Threat of what? Government action to naturalize no, let's make it nationalized. You see, the government will nationalize the entity at a point in time, nationalized an entity at a point in time, or seize ownership from private business, or seize ownership from private business. Let me give it an example. Are you operating in a country where there's a law that anytime there's an issue, government take over private businesses? In that case, it's a threat to the entity that you may lose ownership. It happened when the COVID came. Several institutions in the world were nationalized, especially pharmaceutical industry in the US. Most of them were nationalized. All the product produced becomes government property. So even in Russia, due to the invading in the Ukraine, most entities are leaving Russia. Now, Russian government passed a law that if you are going, go in peace, leave the business, leave the entity. The entity becomes state property. So we are saying that if you are operating in an economy where your business can be a state property, then we are saying that you have a threat to always analyze. That is all. It's not every economy that there's this. Some of the economy, like most of the African economies, free ownership to entity forever. Even if you are running, let's say free zones. Free zones, for example, if you're running free zones, that one you are 100% secured from that, and then we move on with the game. So please, here we are analyzing situations where government can take over a private firm. It's a threat. And equally, we must also analyze situations where government give grants. So if you're operating in a country where the national government always supporting the indigenous business, like China, where the national government is always giving interest-free loan to support businesses that want to expand. If you're operating in such a country, you have a very big opportunity. You have no excuse than to catch or than to take over other territories, because all your expansions cost will be borne by your national government at a zero interest rate. So such political issues becomes what? A critical factor for us to analyze. That's all. The next one I'll talk about is that they have what we call war and civil unrest. So war. Coup d'etat. All these are factors you must look out for. They are political factors. Political factors. You can talk about political factors, country risks. You can say that it's also known as country risks. So on this day, 2023, Target is adding a name to political factors as a country risk, something that affects the government. Now, you can also tell the examiner that threat of terrorist activity, yes. Threat of what? Terrorist activity. All of these are political factors. We are going deeper. Threat. Of terrorist activity. Al-Qaeda, Boko Haram, and co. Is it the Boko Haram? If you go to Nigeria, they will tell you that book is haram. Yes. It is haram in the sense that those that with pen, they normally steal much more than those that without pen. So to learn and come and steal much more than any other person with pen signing, then it must be haram. So book is haram. And to say this in a very fastest way, it tends to be what? Boko Haram. Now let's go. So all these are political factors. So imagine they give you a company who is operating in Nigeria, surrounded by Boko Haram activities. They give you a company operating where Al-Qaeda's camp are, where the other forces, ISIS and co, all the world giant terrorists, you are operating in their vicinity. You are not safe. Your heart will be always in your hand. The latest strike, they'll take over. Later strike, they'll take over. These are the things that affect the entity politically. Having a stable nation, That is what you're talking about. So I'm done. So in exams, when an examiner asks you to analyze the PESTEL, it's one of the cheapest questions they can ever ask you. One of what? The cheapest question they can ever ask you is to use PESTEL. Now, all what you have to do is that identify these factors I've explained here. Government actions against companies. That's all. Device is ready to pair. So here, identify government actions against the company and just tell us whether it's good or bad. That's all. And how the entity can what? Maneuver their way through. Yes. So if imagine you're operating, you have no choice than to establish your business at the same environment with Boko Haram or Al-Qaeda, ISIS, and co. What do you do? In that case, how? As a strategist, what will be the strategy to move among them? Then it means that always when you're operating, you have to carry your heart in your hand because anything can happen. They can strike at any time on your entity. That's it. Now, the next factor that I'll talk about, you see, political factors are very important, please. They are very important if operating among those terrorist vicinities, you join them. Okay, well, if you join them, that one they will protect you. But if you oppose them, they will try to bring you down. So that is the strategy. Please, the political factors are very important because entities that are operating in countries with unstable political regimes or dictatorships, unstable political regimes and dictatorship, coup d'etat. Is it Sudan or Cameroon or Morocco? One of the African countries, just recently there was a coup. There was a coup. And the national president was forced to step down by their military leader, one of the military leaders. Have to force the national president to step down. Yes, but thank God they did it peacefully. It was a peaceful, and they put the national president under house arrest. Just lock yourself in your own house. Don't come out. Simple as that. If you see you out, you are in trouble. So there's no issue. But why this dictatorship creates problems? You see a lot of dictators in African regimes. All this. So imagine your entity, you are operating under a country being ruled by a dictator. Whatever he said is final. Laws that favors the government, that is what they approve. As to its critical impact on companies, on businesses, nobody cares about. How do you? So here we are arguing that please identify the environment that you're operating in, the political factors that may affect you. Always identify the political factors that may have what affect you. That is what we are arguing. That's the first entry point. Always say, find them out because they can, in fact, there's nothing you can do about it if there is. But what do? You manage. You not that there's nothing you can do about it. You can't control it. Yes, you can't control as a single entity. You can't control the government. You can't tie the government's hands. That government don't do whatever you plan to do, and that is it. Yes, here it will be in exams. The examiners try to make the story real. some of them too are a story that looked real, but it has been diluted a little. Yes, some of the stories, some of the case studies. Ideally, it's supposed to be a real case scenario. They have to give you a very real environment. But sometimes, due to confidential information and other stuff, certain things have to be controlled. So at the end of the day, it must be that I won't say massage, it must be summarized well so that doesn't portray any news. Good. So it's a true story. The exam questions are true story. Where issues pop up, we normally try to control one or two stuff. So now, but here, if analyzing the case, please, there are two things. Focus on the issues the examiner have raised first. Imagine they are talking about Nigeria, Mina State. They are talking about Nigeria, one of their states, and you have stayed there for 45 years. Now you are in Ghana writing exams, and the examiner is talking about that state. Please, focus on what the examiner is saying in the case first, before you bring whatever you know as additional information. The central focus on the environment, whatever the examiner have given to you in the model, in the case study, that is what you have to move around. So all these factors I'm saying must be coined in the environment. That is why when they give the environment, it's a bit voluminous. It must talk about everything, general environment of the entity, so that if there's any issue pop up, please, if it is not in the environment, don't force it to bring it. Take notice. If they have not said it, don't force yourself to bring it in. If they have not said there's war, terrorists, then you can make it a suggestion that, with the political factors, this company must look out for whether there's any political threat around their business, in a sense that terrorist activities, then you are giving examples of things that they may expose to. Do you get that? So that is that. I'm done with this. And we move on with the game. Basically, please, you have a question, right? Now, talking about money laundering, as to, you see, every state, every institution, every country always forbid money laundering. Yes. So they have state laws that regulate money laundering, that forbid money laundering. So there are laws and checks to ensure that no one launders money. Money laundering simply means an attempt to make criminal proceeds look genuine. So money laundering simply means you are washing, an act of washing dirty money to become clean. To me, like this, I say they normally use Omo, detergent, and water to wash a dirty money to become clean. So here there are laws. So they can be political, they can be government laws that will counteract the money laundering. And this may affect the entity's operation. You see, because of money laundering, you must ask a lot of questions as a banker. Where the source, query the source of investment. As a banker, you always query the source of investment, no problem. As a banker, you always query. And if you notice that there's a fictitious source, you now prompt. And as long as you prompt, what will be the impact of the entity? So that is what we are saying. So money laundering, some governments will have a strict law against it. Some governments also have a relaxed law. Money laundering, the reason why most countries don't like money laundering, or they restrict it, or they have tough laws against that, is the finance of what? Terrorists, and production of what? Arms for mass destruction. So money laundering proceeds are the ones that they use to finance terrorists. Yes, terrorist financing, and then weapons for mass destruction. That is it. So Boko Haram, they have, in fact, advanced and expensive weapons to the extent that some of the state national government don't even have those kind of weapons. The question is, who financed that? It's through money laundering. So government institutions or government normally put in some barriers to prevent money laundering. So that is it. It will also feature in economic factor or loss. So take notes. Now let's move on to the next section. The next section is right after we go to E. So you are done with the P. Economic factors. Economic factors. Macroeconomic factors. These are macro, take notice, macroeconomic factors. Now, the macroeconomic factors are general factors that affect influence, has a significant influence on entity. So general economic factors that has what? A significant influence on an entity and affect future business prospects. So that is that. You can say macro economic. But here we can even add both the macro and then the micro together. Economic factors. First thing we are talking about, economic environment consists of economic influences on entity and future business prospects. So economic influence on entity and future business prospects. So how does the economic factors affect our business? And then at the end of the day, in the future, most of the economic factors have effects in the future. Yeah, so how will it affect the future business prospects? Will it make doing business in a country be very safe, very lively, very good? No. It will not make business in an entity, in a country so attractive. Some factors will make conducting business in a country become the best ever. Yes, the best. And everyone wants to go. Like China, with their good production technology, almost every manufacturer on this giant manufacturer, one way or the other, know China, know the junction to China. So they manufacture something there, test something there, buy machinery there. So that is that. Now, to talk about the economic factors, the very first one you should expect in exams are the rate of growth in the economy. So economic growth, So check whether that country, the economic growth is in good shape. When you say economic growth, simple means growth in per capita GDP. So bracket increase, change in what? Change in per capita GDP. That's it. So imagine you are operating in a fast economy that has experienced tremendous growth. Your business will also be growing. Yes. Because the market itself has what? A natural taste of growth. You also see the impact. But if you operate in an economy where the growth rate is low as tortoise, you cannot outperform than the economy. Yes. For example, Ghana can never be longer than Africa. Ghana can never be longer than Africa or bigger than Africa. We are within. So if the entire continent is going very slow, likewise, it affects you. Imagine you are in a vehicle and that vehicle is moving slow. No matter what, you can run past the vehicle. So long as you are in the vehicle, when it goes slow, it affects you. The same way when the vehicle moves fast, you are very happy, especially if you are late and the vehicle is also going fast. You are very happy. But the day you meet someone that goes slow on the road, you wish you are behind the wheel and destroy the brake pad and just use the accelerator on your way. So that is the section. So take note that with economic factors, you're talking about economic growth. So when they give you the case study, all what you have to do is that check the background information. They will always give you the background, the country in which the entity operates. If the economy is the growing type, then it's an opportunity. Because ideally, if you're operating in the growing economy, that means the economy will grow with you. The economy cannot grow and leave you behind. It will go with you. But if you're operating in a country where they experience slow growth or no growth at all, or static, then it means that expect your company to also be what? Static. These are the issues you must look out for when the case study is being given to you if analyzing PESTEL. Now, another economic factor is the rate of inflation. Very important. The rate of inflation. What is inflation? How does inflation affect entity? Inflation always increases cost of borrowing. Inflation makes money, purchasing power, reduces. Your ability to buy raw materials reduces. So anytime you're operating in a country where inflation is high, it affects your pricing. So the raw material that you should have spent a lesser amount, now you spend much more. And when happen that way, you always want to increase your price. And you also do the same. At the end of the day, customers might not be able to get enough funds to patronize your products. So inflation can do a company a very bad. Yes. So the issue is, if the inflation rate is good, is stable, yes, single digits for a very long time, then it's a sign of opportunity for you to grow. But if you're operating in a country where the inflation rate is increasing 50%, 200%, Zimbabwe 2020, Zimbabwe recorded over 400% inflation rate. Why? 2020, yes, they recorded that particular range. So imagine you're operating in Zimbabwe as at that time, 2020, where the rate was what? 400 over 400. It even went to 553% inflation rate. So when other countries experiencing 50%, they were crying that they have never seen 50% in their entire world before. Somebody is at what? 400%. Whilst in the Western world, they normally experience single digits. Although currently UK is in a financial crisis to the extent that the inflation rate in UK currently is a bit on the rise. Like the way you say both start running, have you seen? Slowly, but I realize it. Right. However, with good economic factors or good governance policies could restore that. So it won't be a problem. So if you're operating in an economy where inflation is on the rise, it affects your operations. That's all. Just look for this in the question and you are safe. Simple. Please, if IC examiner give you a case study and the company is operating in somewhere in Zimbabwe and they've not informed you about their high rise, then it means that the examiner wanted to keep it mute. Do you get it? So take notice of those areas. Yes. Some of the background information, not every, is the most important one that the examiners normally feature them in the case study. So take notice of those issues. We'll solve more questions for you to see. Always staying within the issue given. We are not saying that you should not be creative by bringing the real life stories into it. Yes, be creative enough. Be creative and tell us that, even with this, analyze it into detail by telling us that if the whole Africa, we are recording a GDP of, let's say, tax to GDP of, let's say, 10 to 12%, and there's a country that have recorded over 30%, what does it suggest? So here, if you know the background information, maybe you have stayed in Zimbabwe before and you know the real issue. Yes, you can suggest that in it, but always make sure that you have made good use of the information provided in a case before you bring in your own in. Other than that, you will set your own questions. Good. Now, another factor that you have to look out for economic factors, there are many. Level of interest rates. All the rate people. So, interest rates, mention them, comma, exchange rate. You see, if we're operating in a country, let's say Africa, like let's say Ghana or Sierra Leone or Uganda, anytime the dollar goes up, almost every business, every product goes up. Even the product does not need dollar. They will tell you that once dollar is going up, our product must also go up. So the question is, if you are operating in a country where interest rate is on the rise, is going up, it makes cost of borrowing very high. And if the cost of borrowing is high, it affects the profit of the entity, and hence it discourages borrowing. And here, if it discourages borrowing, it means that it may affect your ability to expand. It will affect the ability to do what? To expand. But if you are in a country where interest rate is low, it means regulated at the low level. It means that always you have room for expansion, and that's opportunity. And then the exchange rate. Please, the exchange rate is not always that is what is bad, not always that is good. Take notice. Imagine don't forget that there are importers and exporters in the same country. One need the dollar, one also don't need the dollar. So imagine we're in a country, anytime the dollar goes up, all exporters are happy. Exporters are happy. They are happy in the sense that anytime they get the dollar and they exchange into the local currency, they'll get a lot of their local currency. So they are very happy. At the same time, importers will never be happy because they are paying in dollars. And now the dollar has gone up. So now they have to go and look for a lot of local currency to go and buy the same item again. So if that country that you are analyzing, the entity in question is an importer, check, exporter, check, or is a company that transacts both, the export and import goods. So take notice of the analysis. Don't be one-sided. No. Open up, okay? Just open up and we'll add more to it. So basically, that is that. Again, you can also talk about unemployment and availability of skilled workers. Unemployment. Let's go to unemployment. All these economic factors. Unemployment. And what? Availability. Availability of skilled workers. Availability of what? Skilled workers. Some countries are very lazy. They don't know how to produce. So you realize that when it comes to production, they are not good in terms of production. Not that they are lazy. Their skills is not there. Their technical know-how is absent from the medulla. You see, technical skills, the know-how. Let's sit down and create something. It's not there. So if you're operating in such a country, it means, or such economy, it means that always, if you want a skilled labor, you have to outsource them. And can you imagine doing what we call it offshoring? Outsourcing outside the country is called offshoring. So if you do offshore services, that one is very high, bringing expatriates, bringing foreign nationals into your country to come and work. The cost involved is very high. So if you're operating, the business is operating in a country or economy where skilled laborers are very scarce, it's a threat to the entity. It means that anytime they want skilled labor force, they have to go to the next country or any available country. So that is it. And this is why almost every manufacturer have an assembly plant in China, because China have good skilled labor, and labor force in China is relatively not expensive. In other words, cheap labor. Yes, and as a result of that, production is so massive. Unlike African countries, labor force is very expensive. They even have a minimum wage that if employer that cannot meet, be a trouble. Now, most of the issues has been solved over there by using what? Automations, machines into production to replace human skills. So at the end of the day, the savings will be more. So if you are operating in a country where labor force are very skillful and the use of what? Automations to replace labor, efficiency is always high, on the rise. And when efficiency is high, oh, forget about productivity, it becomes a bonus. to you. So that is that. So the issue is that most of the countries don't have skilled laborers. Yes. Let me give you an example. Check all mining firms. All mining firms. The external mining firms, the giant mining firms, they call them what? Commercial or large scale mining. The small scale miners, we call them what? Gather them and sell galamsey. So you see, it's a skill. It's a skill that we have to train on how to mine gold. Not that mining gold is bad, it's very good. But because we don't have the know-how to mine, we do it anyhow, and we end up destroying our own environment. So if you're operating in a country where the know-how is high, it's an opportunity to you, it means that you produce your goods and services with ease. There's no need for you to think about foreign labor. Thinking about foreign labor. That is what we want from you. Again, it also talks about government tax and subsidy. Government tax and subsidy or fiscal policy. So third examiner, government. When I mention government tax, you are aware, right? Government taxes and subsidy. Subsidies. So subsidies in production, fertilizer subsidy. Imagine we are farming, agro-processing or farming business. And government have given us a lot of subsidy. Government have given us subsidy. Fertilizer subsidy. It has given us a lot of fertilizers at nil. This is the opportunity for us to expand our business. We could have paid for these fertilizers, but they are giving it to us. The same way, subsidy in terms of production license and the rest. If government make production license very affordable or even free, all this boosts the production. It's opportunity. So take note. Government spending, yes, if government spend a lot, if operating in a country where government spend a lot, it's a good news. So it means that there's always more money in the system. So the little things you do, you get somebody to buy because there's money in the system. Then free trade. Free trade. All these economical factors. So free trade across borders. Free trade or trade barriers. And then existence of what we call trading blocks. Free trade and what? Trading blocks. Mention some of them. Trading blocks. We have what we call ECOWAS, AU. And then the rest. So example, European Union, ECOWAS 2 is also there. All these are free trade or trade blocks. All what they do is that they promote trade among a particular region. So in that case, it boosts our business. So you get it. So basically, it boosts what? Business. So now I can move one product when I produce from Ghana. I can move and sell it in all the ECOWAS countries without having any difficulty. So if you are a business and operating in this environment, your product will not be consumed only in your home country. All the blocks, all the country within that blocks, that regional blocks will enjoy and you get a lot of customers. That is where we are coming from. That is it. If there are barriers, that means your product will only be consumed in the home country. What's your population size? And everybody, or there are a lot of competitors. The only way to break through is go to outside country or across borders. So that is what you are talking about. Please, the economic factors could affect the decision of the company about where to invest, tax incentives, availability of skilled labor, all these, good transport infrastructure, all these affects the company strategy. And stable currency, energy. Yes, energy. That's the fuel cost and power, energy, power, and fuel. All these are things that economically have a significant impact on the entity. I'm done with the economical factor. Please, in exams, if you copy back this for us, we'll give you 0. Even if you write, add the company name to it, apply it. So how will the energy issue affect the company? Tell us. Will it be a good news or a bad news? You telling us that there's an energy problem, we don't even understand. Tell us. So raise a factor, economic factor, like they said the government have demolished all the nuisance taxes on fuel, on petrol. And the company in question is, let's say, a fuel distributor. It means that customers can now come and buy freely. So those nuisance taxes will reduce the price of the fuel. And per the little economics, we know the lower the price, the higher the demand, all other things being equal. That is what we want you to tell us. That because this company buys and sells fuel, and government has reduced all the nuisance taxes, then it means that it will make the fuel price very cheaper. And the more fuel price become cheap, the larger the demand. That is what, so this serves as an opportunity to the entity. That's all. We don't need any extra work from you. But if you come and tell us that, oh, economical factors, and somebody writes, reduction in nuisance taxes, full stop, non-score. Go further and tell us, how will it affect the entity? That's the application. The effect, the impact, linking it to the situation at hand. That is what will make you exceptional. Don't just go there. These factors. So these factors I've quoted here are not important if you cannot link it. Government taxes. If government tells us that the government have introduced new taxes, how will it affect the entity? How will it affect the entity? That is it. If you come and tell me that the economy does not have skilled workers, how will it affect the entity? It means that the entity will always go outside and go and look for skilled workers. And this will cost them. That is it. This will cost them financial. So take notice of that if you are explaining. Don't just give us the raw point. We call it textbook explanation. We don't want that, beg you. Textbook explanation is not allowed. Give us practical. This is a strategy paper, not ordinary English paper we are writing. No, we are writing strategy. So you are telling us issues at hand. All right, so I'm done with economical factors. Let's go to socio-cultural factors. Social and cultural factors known together. So tell the examiner that we are now at what? Socio-cultural. Always your examiners are complaining that you don't link it. You don't link it to the case. You only tell us the factors. Then you move on. And we don't also give you the full mark. Thank God your answer booklets are not being given to you, so that you will see what we have done on it. Yes, thank God that the answer booklets are not being given. If they give it to you, you are sure that it will be chaos. Yes, so take notice. Now, when it says social and culture, social is how human beings behave, the behavior of people will affect your business. Yes, don't forget that your business is human beings that will patronize it. It's a human that will patronize it. So the way they behave, if it's contrary to your business growth, you are in trouble. So this one is about behavior, how the people, or how the people surrounding your business behave towards, and that is all. So here it's about social and cultural influences in the country or the region in which the entity operates. So here, tell the examiner that social and what? Cultural influence. So let me write it down. Social and culture. Cultural influences. In the country or region. Don't forget, or continent. With or geographical area. Please select one, choose one, don't write all this. Or geographical area in which the entity operates. So what are the social factors in the region in which the entity operates? So what are the social and economic factors? What are the customs and attitudes? So first one, we are talking about customs and attitude. Imagine we produce something that go contrary to their customs. We will never make it. Yes, you will never make it. You will never make it. You are producing something that goes contrary to their norms, their attitude, their customs. You are in trouble. So always, if you're analyzing your external environment, make sure that you check as to whatever your product and services or your operations doesn't contradict the customs and the attitude of the people in that economy. That is all. That is all. So customs. Yes. So please take notice of that as we are going through this. So when you talk about customs, let me be very practical here. Imagine we produce something like Christian magazine books. Yes, we produce Christian magazine books. And we are planning to establish planning to establish maybe a branch where Christian fellowship are not allowed. In fact, we can't even come out and say we're even producing. We can only produce undercover, like announce. So the issue is you have to check the customs, the attitude, the behavior of people around, whether it contradicts your operations. That is all. Or whether your operations does not contradict the customs. Yes. So take notice of that. I always say that if you want to live in peace, if you go to any community, if you operate in any community, anywhere you go first, please, when they give you food, don't take it. When they give you water, don't take it. Ask them their laws first, their customs, what they believe in first, and see whether you can. You also share the same belief before you go and take their food. Yes, or you take their water. So if you travel anywhere, ask their do's and don'ts. The same way in business. If you want to go far, always assess your environment, the do's and don'ts over there, so that you don't operate contrary to those laws, because they will have a significant impact. If there's an entity that operates who does not obey the local customs, a lot of people will not even buy from you. So here, we can talk about values, beliefs of customers, and then employees and general public. So let's talk about values and beliefs, what they believe in. You can talk about values and beliefs. Of customers. Yes. So let me tell you a typical example. General public and other stakeholders. Typical example. You see, there's a bank previously called Barclays. I don't know whether you've heard about it. Barclays Bank. Now, every Pan-Africanist doesn't like Barclays Bank, and it's very clear. Every Pan-Africanist and almost all the Rastafarians in Africa that knows the story about Barclays Bank, they don't like. Now, the issue is that every Pan-Africanist believes that, and this is a true story, Barclays Bank was established from a proceed from slave trade from Barclays brothers. Barclays brothers, they were into slave trade, and all the money they had, that is what they used to establish the Barclays Bank. So every Pan-Africanist suggests that robbing Peter to pay Paul is not good. So you sold our forefathers. You had money, and now you're to establish a bank. So we'll never patronize your services. So Barclays has not been doing well in some of the African countries. Those that are fully aware of this, they have not been doing well. Yes. Even in Ghana in 2015, I think they made some huge material loss to the extent that some people thought they're even planning to leave the entire African continent. Yes, because they believe that the customers have is that you have used a proceed from a slave trade to set up a bank, and therefore we will not give you a good year. So that is why now, as you can see, that the name have probably moved from Barclays Bank to where? Absa Bank. You get that? But still, the story still remains the same. So that is the issue with the beliefs of the people. So if you operating in the midst of environment like this, if you like, change the name like 3,000 times. So unless the story is being what? Deleted from people's mind, but still to be there. So take notice of this. And this is strategy. Then I also talk about patterns of work and leisure. Patterns of work and leisure. Patterns of work. Some countries enjoy patterns of work. I'll give you a practical example. Patterns of work and leisure time, lunch time. And leisure. Some country doesn't joke with their lunch time and annual holiday. There's nothing, no, like forget it. As a company, you're going to take their annual vacation leave. Say they will not go on leave. Take your company and go. Take it and go. Take it. Other environment too, they will fight for the holiday, but they will use it to work in another different area. May you know them, right? Yes. The issue is that if you are operating a generation in the economy where the patterns of work does not move in line with your business model, it affects it negatively. So you check whether the business model is in line with the patterns of work in that country. For example, if you go to Japan, yes, Japan, for instance, Japan labor law restrict or prohibit the dismissal. So once you employ Japanese citizen to work in Japan for you, sacking him become very difficult. So at the end of the day, your hands are tied. Operating in this economy calls for a critical strategic analysis on this. So before you employ someone, you look into the future, like more than 3,500 years, to check, to confirm that will I be in a good state to host these employees for that long term, to the extent that when I'm even sacking him, genuinely, the law will do with me. And holidays, leisure time. Some countries, there's a strict holidays for employees. So if you are the organization that doesn't tolerate holidays, you don't give holidays, there's no holiday in your calendar, there's no paternity leave, there's no menopause leave, and all this, you don't function them. Just, oh, it's just a story. Then the question is, no. Look at the environment you operate. If leisure is what they believe in, make sure that you operate in line with that to have a safe journey with them. Good. Now, such a length of work. A length of what? Work. Some country doesn't work long hours. Other countries do long hours. What the wow. That's just what? Length of work or working hours. Some country work 8 hours. What the wow. Huh. You sit down for 8 hours. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Wow. Some country, the maximum hours you can work or you can allow an employee to work must be 3 hours maximum. So 2 hours let the employees come home. 5 hours, 6 hours, 7 hours, 8 hours. So there are restrictions. Some of the economy, there are restrictions in terms of working hours. Because you can't come and use their labor like that. The mere fact you are paying them doesn't mean that you have control over them to the extent that they have to be there from morning till evening. No. So the government have strict law, and then the culture, the environment, the culture is that we don't work for more than 5 hours. So all these, Mr. Strategic, please take this into consideration when you analyze the company's external environment. Yes. And then you see, popular views about what to do at leisure time. Some of the countries, they have what and what they must do during their leisure time. So some of the entity, they will tell that, oh, even on the holiday, come to work. If you are going on leave, yes, but still pass by. We have a country where, I know a country, even if you're on leave, sometimes they'll call you. If you're on leave, they have to come and sign paper. Meanwhile, if you're on leave, you're on leave. If at your leisure time, the company shouldn't tell you what to do. If that's the culture within that jurisdiction, we have to respect that. So when we are designing our strategy, we must analyze all this, its effect on the entity, or else we always find ourselves in trouble. Ethnic structure of society. Yes, ethnic structure of society is very important. Ethnic structure of society. Ethnic structure of society. Yes, so how the ethnic structure. Influence of religion and religious attitudes. So all these are socioculture. Influence of what? Religion. Influence of religion and religious attitudes. And religious attitudes. You see, some countries don't believe in religions. Some countries don't. They don't want to hear the word religion. Yes. I think either North Korea or South Korea is one, where they have 23 or 17 strict laws on their haircuts, and then even the kind of wear you can wear. And even the name, certain names are reserved. So if an entity operating in this environment, please, you must consider all this. And then we move on with the game. The religious attitudes in society. Religious attitude. And the last one I'll talk about is the relative proportion of different age group, population and age group. Population and age group. That's the demographic factors. All these are things that we have to consider. All these are things that we have to consider. Demographic groups. And then we move on with the game. So please take notice of these factors, and they are very important. Take these factors careful for us. Now, this is the issue. Now I'm done with social culture. So I'm done with the S. Let's go to the T. Technological factors. This side is very topical. Technological factors. Now, when you talk about technological factors, we are interested in the science and technology that is available. So availability of science and what? Technology. That is it. So are we operating in an environment where has its own well-developed technology and science? Yeah, so here development in IT and computer technology, including what? Internet. All these are factors that we have to consider. Computerization skills. Do you have skills? Computer skills. Computer skills or know-how. Imagine you are operating in a country where the computer skills is very high. It's an opportunity for you to move in it. Yes, so or where a country where their computer know-how is a bit low, it definitely affects your operations too as well. So that is the section. You have to take notice of all this. Technological advancement. So advancement, recent change. Now we are in the AI era. Yes. It's one of the powerful library you can ever get. Yes, AI era. Good. I've already stated clearly, a time will come, nobody will bother to write exams. Yes, it will be on a skill-based exams. They will go back to the what happened. It was this China. Yeah, China claimed that they introduced examination for the first time. Yeah. When they were employing government workers. And that was when examination came into being. Before there was no exams on this earth. No exams on this earth. Good news. The earth was very peaceful, no exams. We just use your skill to assess you. If you qualify, we'll give you the job, no exams. And they start introducing exams. The first exams that was written on this earth was for job application. And thereafter, they formalized it. Education was there, but it was not in the examination base. Take notice of that. So after that, China claimed they are the first. The first. So even if you check online, if you Google online, they will always tell you China, because they claim that. You see that? Now let's go straight to the game. So all what we're trying to say is that technology advancements. Now it may affect development of what? Food, drugs, and other issues. Technology affect food. Now, almost every production there is an iota of technology that supports. So that is the area that we are coming from. So all what I'm trying to say is that technology may impact heavily on the entity's business. So we have to always assess the technological impact in terms of advancement. If there's any advancement, we have to go in for. If there's AI and its impact, I cannot imagine taxing robots. I love to see the era. Taxation of robots and AI. Yes. And all those ones because of where we are going to. Now, you can even form what you call an entity, a business, and you employ only AI to do all the work, no human beings over there, and you still do your quality work, even include law. Yeah. Include law. The first robot lawyer, I think he has been he has been sued in US. A man claimed that the robot is practicing law with that certificate and doesn't understand. Law is a profession that you can not practice if you don't have a certificate. If you practice without a certificate against accounting, you can practice, you can practice accounting without a certificate, nobody will worry you. So long as you know the skill, there's no problem with that. As long as you have the skill, there's no problem with that. Yes. But that's why for them, they have to call you to the bar. They have to call you to what? A bar or a bench. That is it. Before you can become a lawyer. That robot has never been called to bar, but he's a robot lawyer, AI lawyer. That is where technology is leading us. So if you are operating in a country where technology has moved ahead and you are still in old era mode, like there's a bank operating on the shores of Africa, they are still using the old era paper-based processing, where most of banks are now adopting what we call paperless. You are still paper. You can keep paper, the entire room will full, and there still be paper. When fire catch up, you've lost everything. But with the help of this advancement, they call something cloud computing. They say storing your data in the cloud. Oh, that's what they are telling us. Now, the issue is, look at the big cloud that we have, the sky. Everything will go there. That is it. That's the advancement. So at the end of the day, that's the story that we are painting. So take notice of that. Now, in the strategic planning, companies need to be aware of current technology and its changes, the nature of the changes in the future. Like the way I'm telling you that in the future, everything will be centered on AI. Almost one human being, they will do a way that they will create your own AI for you. So my AI is different from your AI. My robot different from your robot. And then move on. That's the future technology. Technology could have an important influence on investment decisions in research and development and in new technology. So basically, that is all. Now let me go to the last one, ecological factor, last but one, ecological factor. And we're almost through. Ecological factors, that's the E. Please, previously they call it environment. So that ecological factors, or this is a natural environment. I don't want to use the word environment again, but it refers to the natural environment, the surrounding. Eco, any other living or non-living things around the entity apart from human beings. apart from human beings, apart from human, anything that surrounds the entity. So water body, forest, mountains, which one again? Yes, the environment, the air, the space, ozone layer, the sun, all these are ecological factors. Climate, local climate. They say climate change, climate change, climate change. Yes. How does that affect our entity? Please don't go and tell them that if it is raining, they should produce umbrella plenty, please. We don't want that story here. We are begging here, we are moving advance. When they say ecological, here we are talking about the environmental concern. It's very important in strategic planning and decision making, particularly industry that are subject to strict environmental laws, like mining firm. Mining firm. You see, mining firm, for those who have the mining license, if you are mining in the forest, and if you kill an ant, it's an offense to kill an ant in the forest if you are mining. If you kill a snake, it's an offense in the forest because that is their natural home. So how does your activities impact heavily on the environment? So the issue is that the environmental concern is very important. The environmental concern is what? Very important. So kindly take notice about the environmental concern. So here, it's usually available for entities that operate in countries or environments where there are strict laws, strict mining firms, oil and gas entities. Food manufacturers, food processors, and the rest. All these are there. And then atmospheric pollutions, yes, it's true. Those that pollute the environment. So if your operations pollute the environment, please. And those that face risk with their source of raw materials. So here, tell examiner number 1 is about concern for the environment. Concern for the environment. And when I talk about the environment, I'm talking about all things that surround the entity apart from human beings. The human beings refers to the social aspect, that's the social culture. Then the ecologists talk about the nature, that's the land, the rock, the forest, the airspace, and the rest. And then strict environmental legislation or laws. Strict environmental laws. Are you operating where there's strict environmental laws? It's like you operate in an area where the slightest mistake you do, the law enforcement agencies at your doorsteps. So that's where they say the law is working. And then risks, raw material to be used, renewable raw materials. So raw materials, very important. Renewable. So all the A4 that we are using, if you check A4, the packaging, the A4 papers, they normally use 3, and it's not good for you to cut tree, irrespective of the purpose you're going to use it for. So all those that cut down tree use it for their products, such as furniture, timber, A4, books, brown envelopes, and co. If you check their packaging, normally right there, environmentally safe, they plant their own tree. Yes, the good ones plant their own tree. They don't cut somebody's tree and use it to prepare what? To produce their books. So if you are operating in a country where cutting down of tree is totally forbidden, then it means that you have a long way to go by producing your own tree, by starting to replant a new tree and then use it for your processing. And then that is all. And then leading edge in technological research. This side is very important. This question has dropped before. There was one customer focus, yes, one case study called customer focus. Leading edge. Of technological research. Like example, GMO. Genetically modified foods. Yes. So if you produce those kind of food, people are like, now many individuals are very health cautious. So they are moving away from such foods. Yes. Such foods. A lot of drinks, a lot of food are made from what? Chemically manufactured food. Chemically manufactured foods. Those ones have a very bad impact on the environment, on humans, and then the environment as well. Yeah, so with the concern for the environment is very important. It's very crucial. Yes, so that is it. Let's go. In some country, animals are protected. In other countries, animals are used as everyday meat. No respect for any of them. So some countries don't joke with their animals. Some too, they don't want to see any bush meat. Right now, let grass cutter by mistake come to town, that you come to sit down small on African soil. It will not go back again. That grass cutter. It will be swimming inside someone's what? Colored pepper soup in a very hot afternoon. Yeah, so that is the signal. Some countries are very concerned. So if you're operating in a country where they are concerned about the environment, then how will it affect? Imagine you are into grass cutter business. You only hunt for grass cutter and use them to prepare pepper soup. Very expensive pepper soup. And now you have moved to UK, where wildlife organization prohibits killing and slaughter. And killing and slaughter of what? Grass cutters. How you take this story? So that is what we are analyzing. That will be a threat to your business. It's a total threat because it's inconsistent with their operation. So sometimes an entity presents itself as environmentally friendly. So if you check almost all corporate governance stand and ethical stand, ethical report issued by entities suggest that they are what? They are operating in environmental what? Safe manner. That's what they'll tell you. But we have rules and laws that guide them. Now let's go to the last one, legal environment laws. It has a link with the political, to take note. Laws, government actions. So that's legal environment, legal factors. One, government laws. Government policies, laws, regulations that affect our entity. Major new laws in the future. You see, imagine they are planning a new law that anyone that uses Zoom to do conference, Zoom classes, we are going to tax all Zoom users in Ghana here for taxes, withholding tax. The question is, how would the institutions take this? Here, the laws and regulations vary between country to country. Please, it's not the same. Although international regulations is accepted in certain area of what commercial activity, such as what banking. Yes, in banking, we normally have international regulations such as the SWIFT and then the rest. So one, tax laws. An international company might locate some of its operations for tax reasons in a country where there's favorable laws, tax laws, and then the rest. So basically, we are done with the game. Okay, so that is all. So here, future tax laws. Any laws at all. Now, what are the limitations of PESTEL? Limitations of PESTEL. It is too easy to analyze. You see, it is too easy to analyze the past and then what? Current environment. But not you see easy. It's so easy to use PESTEL to analyze past and present. It is not easy to identify environmental influence in the future. So it's easy to analyze past and current environment using PESTEL. Using PESTEL. The argument is that, but using it to analyze the future influence is difficult. So all what you're trying to say is that PESTEL is very difficult to use in the future to assess the future, how the future look like. So PESTEL is not, it's very difficult to use when it comes to the future analysis. What you're analyzing is past and present, what has happened. Who knows the future government laws? You have no idea of future government laws. So at the end of the day, analyzing future effects is very difficult. So that's the PESTEL. The small criticism that we can do. So it does not provide assessment for environmental influence. And it's used for qualitative analysis, but not quantitative. Good. So PESTEL focus on what? On quali, not quanti. So number two, it focuses more on qualitative and not quantitative. So all the trying to argue that it ignored quantitative and focus on the qualitative. And then it is subjective. But not objective. So it means that you have to, it make use of judgment. And anytime judgments come in, that one is very selective. When it's a judgment, it's very subjective. It depends on the person making the decision. And then that is it. All right, so we've given the challenges of the PESTEL. I'm done. And then we move on with the game. So now that PESTEL has been dealt with, so now take notice of the two main models used in analyzing the environment or external factors. That is the PESTEL and then the Michael Eugene Porter's diamond. All right, so that is that. So now we have to do competitive analysis. And that is where we use a lot of models. like competition and market, 5 forces, life cycle model, Boston Consulting Group. So this is what left. So if you check, wow, you see, there must always be an environmental analysis. So if you check all the models we are discussing, one of them will come next sitting. Last sitting they had one. So we now go to competitive analysis. Competitive analysis. It is also known as industrial analysis. What are the models? I want to write the models down for you. 5 forces. Number 2, life cycle. So you see last sitting you have life cycle. That's our last sitting had life cycle question. Boston Consulting Group. Boston Consulting Group. Take notice. Plus PESTEL and which one again? Diamond. And other ones, I think that's 4 here. That's every exam. One of these models have to drop. Check all your exam past questions. I see Ghana. I'll add maybe 1 or 2 every year. One of these models should be there. Every year, stakeholder analysis. So every year, one of these models to be there. Every single year, they have to ask you a question in this neighborhood. Last sitting was life cycle. A sitting before was different. So that is that. So our next section, we have to pick them and do justice to it. Any question for me before I end the gig? So our next meeting, we are considering the industrial analysis, and that is where we are going to talk about all these models, 5 forces, life cycle, BCG, and we've done stakeholder already, so I'll not do it again. And then there's one, I will replace stakeholder with another one model. So I'm doing 4 models on Saturday coming. 5 forces, life cycle, BCG, they are on our mind. So if you want to understand it into detail, how to apply the special 5 forces, how to apply them, please, I always say that strategic case study or strategic business leader is not about you telling us the textbook point. Please go beyond the textbook point and link it, the real scenario. How will it affect the entity? That's all we are interested in. Case study is all about how would this textbook point affect the entity. So if you can argue your point very well on how it will affect the entity, we don't have any problem and we'll mark it for you. App is very clear.